internally you can rally everyone around, that was the next big step, because who is Oura? What do we stand for? Where are we going? I was getting much different answers across all of those interviews with people, and felt like we had to reset it and then embed it in the company, and then you could start telling the story externally to consumers.
In today's world, how does a brand break through the noise and become iconic? Join me, Jason Harris, as I speak with the world's leading marketing experts about how they use soul and science to build an iconic brand. Think of it as EQ meeting IQ. So let's lock in and together fast forward our marketing minds on the Soul and Science podcast. Welcome to the Soul and Science podcast. Today, I'm joined by Doug Sweeny, Chief Marketing Officer at Oura Ring. Doug is a seasoned growth and brand leader who scaled some of the most iconic companies of our time, including Nest, One Medical, Levi's, Adidas, etc. At Oura, he's leading the charge to transform personal health and wellness. And today, with Doug, we're going to explore his career, where he's worked before, and what it takes to globally scale brands at the intersection of health, technology, and culture. Welcome to the podcast, Doug.
Jason, thank you. I'm psyched to talk to you today.
Hell yeah. All right, Doug, we crossed paths, 20 years ago, briefly, but give me your origin story. You've been in advertising and marketing for your whole career. Give me a little brief synopsis of like how you got into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had no idea in college. I went to Syracuse University. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was a maker kind of in the 70s. I was like a model rocket kid. Like I loved just making stuff. That was kind of my passion. I was way into hobbies. And I did always love the cross section of sort of pop culture and marketing. That was something I was interested in. Think of Nike and the Just Do It heyday in the 80s. I went the school I went to. A bunch of my friends were all in TV, radio, film. They were Newhouse, and I was just around a lot of people in marketing and advertising. We left Syracuse, went down to the city, went to New York, and
you were in Newhouse. Did you major in?
I was a cross major, Newhouse School of Business and Arts and Sciences. So it was like a combined major. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I got an assistant media planner job and broke in on the agency side. I actually found out that wasn't really for me. Like I enjoyed, media modeling and mix modeling and CPMs and to a degree, but I wanted to be closer to the creative product. Really. I wanted to go into account services. The agencies, I in that time, it was just, it was easier for me to break in than try to break into a client side job. And I loved it. I really thrived in the creative, experience and working alongside creative people. My wife and I moved to San Francisco in '94. It was kind of on a lark. We're like, let's do something different. We grew up in New York. And threw darts on a board, Boston or San Francisco, and she got an offer from Footcone. She was on the media side, and I started at Citron, which became AKQA in that time period.
That's right.
In the city. So I spent 15 years really agency side, and my sort of last agency side job was working alongside one of your partners, Mike Zalatiper, on the Adios business, running that out of San Francisco and Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And loved it. I mean, really, I thought I had the best job agency side with the best client I could ever have wished for. Yeah.
When you moved from the agency side, what was your first brand role?
Yeah. So I'm at Chiat, and this is in the Impossible's Nothing era, 2004. We'd launched it. I was there for a number of years and got a call from Levi's. No one was wearing Levi's at that time. It was a fast fashion and like premium denim era. And, I took a marketing director role and loved it.
And then from there, you went to Nest, right?
Yeah, well, it's Levi's to Nest. I met Tony. Tony had created the iPod under Steve and spent roughly 10 years there. Did 3 versions of the iPhone, The mission was what it really excited me. It was, I love the product. The product was incredible. The first product, the Nest Learning Thermostat, but it was really at its core, it was about environmentalism and saving energy because these devices were built in the 1980s and you couldn't program them. They were just, they're in zero, it was devoid of innovation. So I got to work very closely with him. We had an amazing team there at Nest. It was the first product. It'd been roughly a year and a half since the company had launched when I started.
And when you made the jump from, like, say, a VP marketing role to CMO role, was there a big leap for you in capabilities from going from VP to CMO?
For sure. I think, one of the most important ones, or one of the most challenging ones at the time, was I was starting to take on more revenue responsibility. So we had a D2C business and we had a cloud recording business on our cameras, and I was directly responsible for that business. So I think, in the Levi's example, you have less revenue responsibility, really none. You're running marketing, communications, brand storytelling, packaging, in-store experience. It was very communications and marketing focused. And I started within Nest to take on more and more revenue responsibilities. That was a big shift for me. Two, moving from apparel and footwear into a technology brand where a product is constantly being updated and changed, and you're launching new products and growing a brand versus joining a brand that needs to be rebooted, that's 100 years old. And how do you retool that brand versus the creation mode where you're actually creating it and it's moving from a single product to a multi-product? What's the brand story? What's the positioning? That was a fundamentally different experience. The other thing was that Google acquired the company, a year plus after I was there. So now we were a subsidiary of Google with expectations that were significantly above, I would say, what we had been doing in the first couple of years. The expectations changed.
Yeah. And what was that experience like?
It was incredible. I loved working for Tony. I thought he was just a really great mind. He set an incredibly high bar. I learned a lot about the consumer experience end to end because he had spent that time at Apple under Steve. So we really, the experience end to end was really important. Google was going to scale the company. We went from 50 to 100 people at acquisition to 1,000 in 18 to 24 months.
Wow.
It was a full scale. We were scaling the company. We acquired Dropcam. We had launched the Nest Protect smoke alarm. We were launching a security system. We were really pushing to be the most recognizable and leading smart home brand in the world. That was really our mission.
And then you went to One Medical.
Yeah, went to One Medical. So I really wanted another mission-based experience. That was what I really loved about. That was what I felt was really got me going and excited about the Nest experience. I was a One Medical member. I thought the service was incredible.
It was great. Yeah,
great service. Amir Rubin was coming in as a CEO. They were rebooting the whole management team. So I came in to lead marketing and our consumer business on the revenue side, which was the dominant business at the time, as we were scaling the company. And the thing I thought was missing was, as good as the office experience was, the brand positioning, storytelling, marketing just did not live up to the level of the service offer.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot of retooling I could do on that right out of the gate to move it in the right direction with Amir.
And were you there when Amazon took it over?
Yeah, so it was an interesting. I was there for exactly 4 years to the month. First year was all about scaling. We raised our final round before we IPO'd. We IPO'd in 2020. The day we IPO'd, the World Health Organization announced that there was a pandemic and COVID. Literally
the day. That's insane.
We were at NASDAQ.
Wow.
That afternoon. All the media around the world were announcing this, that it was now a pandemic. So we moved from a for-profit healthcare brand to all of a sudden we were opening up tents all over the US, and we became a public health brand, getting people tested and then providing COVID vaccines. We worked with de Blasio in the city of New York. We were tents all over the city of New York, and with Mayor Breed in San Francisco. So it just fundamentally changed. We were in a crisis mode, and we were on the front lines. So you can imagine working for a healthcare brand during a pandemic is not easy.
Yeah.
We the Amazon acquisition was, I think, the point where I felt like I wanted to do something different. Like my time had sort of run out there, and I learned what I wanted to learn, and I knew it was going to be moving into a different phase at that point. That I wanted to do something different. Yeah.
Which led you to your current role.
Led me to my current role. So I met Tom, and we started talking about the opportunity, and over a couple months, the more I didn't have the product at the time. I was heard about it and heard some news about it. It was still relatively niche. It was definitely sort of biohackers. Were using the product in that time period in 22. And I just thought it connected the dots for me on a lot of passion points. I mean, fitness, wellness. It sat in the center. It had a pop culture and a jewelry component to it because it was hardware and software. I thought that was a real interesting. It felt like if Nest and One Medical had a child, this would be their child.
I was going to say, like, based on when they're interviewing for the CMO role and then they see your experience, they're like, it's like perfect, right? It's perfect. Like in the healthcare space, technology. Exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was kind of a good fit, and even Levi's was a good fit, and yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your experience there, and you've been there a couple of years now.
Yeah,
and I know that the brand, it's changed a lot. Like the offerings changed a lot. It started more in the kind of sleep tracker space, and now it's more going full spectrum wellness.
Yes.
Tell me about what you see the future of the company becoming.
Absolutely. I mean, I think just to make a mention to what you were asking earlier about changes, just as I've taken on different roles, revenue responsibility, I think is important for CMOs. I think that is an important thing because you're seeing both sides of it. So you can come at things from a very honest perspective. Is this going to build the brand and awareness and brand equity, or is this really driving sales, and how those two things play off each other? So in my current role, I'm leading the D2C business, membership. We have a membership, and retail, which is global retail. So it's really the consumer side of the business is where I'm mostly focused. And then all the marketing comms and all those kind of things that you would expect a head of marketing to lead. You're right that the brand positioning, Oura, very early in its trajectory, doubled down on sleep. The reason for that, I think, is really because of where the product was born. The product was born in Oulu, which is way up in the north in Finland. But the Finns and the Nordics approach to life is all about balance. It's about rest, recovery, and fitness, and being active. It's not simply about going really hard and
7 days working out as hard as you can. Yeah.
Go. It's about this balance, and that is just very true to that part of the world. Frequently gets mentioned as that the happiest. It always wins that.
It does, yeah.
Happiest place in the world is Finland. So I think that one is, it starts from the product, that the product, its form factor, as light as it is, it weighs as much as a piece of paper, sits on your finger, 7+ days of battery, so you don't have to charge it every night, put it on the nightstand. You could wear it in bed and you wouldn't know you had it on. Right. And because of the positioning of the product, the company really doubled down on sleep. That was the foundation that we created. Since then, since 22, I started roughly 3 years ago in the company. We have launched 50, 60, in the last 18 months, updates on the software side. So we have a suite of women's health products beloved by women, cycle tracking, non-hormonal birth control. stress and resilience, cardiac health. We launched metabolic with Dexcom and integration just about a month or two ago. So the product evolution has really changed at a very good clip over the last 3 years because of the product changes and the evolution of the product itself. So it's been very deliberate. It's been very deliberate, Jason.
And the vision for the company is really, if is it still the same vision, to create a world where everyone has the tools to optimize their health and performance. Is that still the overall trajectory of the company?
The line that we use to try to summarize what we're doing is that Oura gives everybody a voice. It's as if your body has a translation device. That's really what Oura is doing. It's translating all of these signals from your body through this device and into your app. That's really this idea of translation. I mean, opportunity for the product is very, very wide. So when you say about performance, yes, it is. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of teams, collegiate and professional, who use the product. Tons, high performance athletes that purchase the product, trainers. New York Knicks is a good example. We have tons and tons of University of Virginia, et cetera, who use the product. But also, we also have populations, with our Essence product, 65 plus, where you have a much older demographic who are using the product for sleep and wellness and metabolic.
Notifying if there's any health concerns, et cetera.
Exactly.
Indicators, yeah.
It's a proactive way to manage your health. Yes.
I want to circle back just because I had a question that I wanted to touch on. The CMO role, as it changed for you, were you almost in more of these, I wouldn't call them startups because they're big businesses, hundreds of millions, $500 million, whatever.
Yeah.
But the CMO role in those businesses you've been on versus, say, Levi's, you're more, running marketing, but then you're almost like GMing the business, right? Like it's a much different role than just marketing.
100%.
Some brands and companies have GMs. They have a brand office, chief brand officer, chief growth officer, chief marketing officer. Are there's just like whatever works for that company, you have those titles? Or do you think the push, my question really is, are CMOs becoming more and more CMO / leader of the business?
Yeah.
Or do you think that's just in a certain size company?
It's a really good question. I think it is somewhat our size. Some of these are also legacy companies. So you think about an Adidas or a Levi's, we had general managers who ran EMEA and ran Asia Pacific. We had discrete different products that were being designed and developed for the European market and the Asian market.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that is different. Or in the case of Adidas, we had different sports. In the US, we had basketball and all the traditional US sports, and then in Europe, it was all about football, soccer, right? I mean, so I think that's different. I think it is somewhat the size of the company, but I do think there's a trend where CMOs, you have to be also responsible for the revenue growth of the company.
Right.
I think that, at this stage of where I am, I think it's one of the most interesting parts of my role, really. I mean, I grew up and cut my teeth developing positionings and creative campaigns, but I've really enjoyed the understanding and learning about the revenue part of the business and being held responsible for that.
You know how there's always wellness trends and wellness fads that come and go, and some stick and some don't.
Yeah.
How that relates to markers you might care about.
Yeah.
And how do you figure out what to ditch and what's real?
Good question. I think, we're very focused now, and you can see it. I could talk about the current campaign. We're very focused on longevity.
Yeah.
And it's not, again, it's not how many years do you live to 100. It's not really about that. It's about living your best life and feeling your best and doing the things you want to do. I mean, right? That's really that. Ultimately, that's what we're doing is giving people insights into what's going on in their body so they can stay proactive and stay in front of things and inspire them and give them a path forward.
It's about like knowledge, and aging's a normal process. You just need information about it versus like try to stay young,
That's
right?
right.
Chase your
And
youth.
it's not, I think, again, different than a lot of the risk wearables, quite frankly. It's a very different approach.
I really love that. Do you think that comes from the Finnish founders? Because it's kind of anti US. Like
Right.
the US isn't like that at all. We're
Right.
like chasing the fountain of youth always. But
Right. That's right. No, we are. Yeah. I mean, I think, yes, I think in its genesis, the original intent, I actually spent some time talking to the original founders in Finland who moved on, but the spirit of what they were trying to do and this idea of balance was pretty vanguard at the time. I mean, the company was founded in 2013. It's over a decade old. So I think they were ahead of the curve. I really do. And I think I mean, you hear people talk about sleep and rest and recovery. And if you're going hard at the gym or you're going on a long hike, pulling back and about rest and recovery, that has come into the wellness culture, the vernacular now. That was not the case 5 years ago, or definitely not 10 years
that's
ago.
true.
So I do think they get the credit for that. I do think we've doubled down on it. I think the product evolution over the last 3 years, the product has really fundamentally changed from where it is. We took that foundation and we've built upon it, and it's a full holistic healthcare product today.
Do you have to market differently to different groups, or that one note that everyone should care about sort of the same?
It depends on where we are in the funnel, and
Yeah.
right. I mean, there's that piece of this, like where are we in the funnel? But it is also like we've got these beats throughout the year. I'll use Give Us the Finger, which is a campaign, a brand campaign that we launched in the spring, was very much focused on longevity, and that, I mean, it's still running today through the summer. Was very focused on longevity and this idea of empowerment um, and living your best life. And then it was keying off of the form factor and where it's set on the finger. So really leaning in there. Before that, we had a tie-in with Mission Impossible and Cruise, and the final segment of Mission Impossible. We were really focused on men because that was an area that we wanted to have a beat on that. And then with the Knicks or with a collegiate program, there's content we're creating. There's blogs and other storytelling in different parts of the funnel. There's a lot of press. Another good example of this is during World Cup, the English soccer team trainer called us and said, I'm looking for 100 rings for the English football team. He was very focused about rest and recovery for them leading up to World Cup. Those stories came out in the press. The press in England started noticing rings on all of the players' fingers during training. That happens a lot to us, where the media will notice it. We'll use a blog or other content to storytelling. There's not a TV campaign against that, but we are definitely telling stories about the performance of this product through other parts of the funnel itself.
What would you say the hardest part of your job is, or where the company is in its life cycle right now?
The company has, really doubled revenue the last 2 years. We've really hit our stride. Our retail business, all segments of our business are flywheeling. Retail was something we added later,
Yeah.
really only 2 years ago, and it really helps on discovery. And it's a hardware product, so you have to size it. It's like jewelry. People want to see what it looks like, and so that has really been helped us, a bit of catalyst. But we're expanding around the world, so we're constantly having to. We're a privately held company, and we have to balance out where are we putting dollars and emphasis around the world. We just launched Japan. We're in Germany and the UK and across the EU. And as we look at our roadmap across the world, I think one of the biggest challenges we have is just prioritization. It's like, where do you put both people, resources on my team, but on the operations team or other teams around the company? That's probably one of the most challenging things.
And when you think about the funnel or the loop, and you think of all your different activities,
Yep.
How do you decide, that we want to do a big brand campaign, like give us the finger, because we need to have a new brand campaign out there so we have an attitude and people know what we stand for,
Yep.
versus this mid-funnel work is performing so well? How
Yep.
do you balance the brand and performance piece?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have a great team. I mean, I think one of the things about getting these things going in the right direction is getting the right, players on the field, like who is in there. So we have performance driven media and marketers who are looking, mid and lower funnel on what is performing and what is closing a sale, right? And we have a product that is a Swiss Army knife that has at the highest level we can say give us the finger, and it's about empowerment and longevity and living your best life and all those things. And then as we go further down in the funnel, we're getting much more specific on product storytelling and use cases and how to use the product and all the incredible things this product can do. So we're very, we're constantly optimizing that mid and lower part of the funnel. At the highest level, we're looking at brand leadership measurement. We're looking at, you know, um, where are we from a wearable leadership standpoint? Where is Oura stacking up versus some of the biggest brands in the world, from a leadership standpoint? So we're kind of we're definitely, we have different KPIs and performance metrics, both upper funnel, mid and lower funnel. Um, the lower is really, we're looking at sales across all of our channels every day, every morning. We're looking at those and tracking those and seeing what is working and what is not working. So it is clearly an evolving. I mean, the brand side of it is a little bit slower burn because you're waiting to see impact in market and see if you can move those things. But we can see it on the social side clearly, right? When we launch Give Us the Finger and we're pushing out content, the engagement was through the roof on that in terms of social. I mean, it was some of our highest performing social activity over the last year.
How do you think about leading your teams? You're in a interesting growth period and you've got to lead your team and not get distracted and keep them focused.
I mean, I do think, getting mentioned this a little bit, that the right players on the field is like having the right leaders in place, and I think that's an evolution, right? I mean, I think just like on the positioning side, Give Us the Finger couldn't have happened in 2022. It really couldn't have. It would have been too early. Um, I think our team has evolved, and getting the right people into places where they're feeling like they can do the best work and they're performing is really important. I feel like we're now at that inflection point, with our team and getting the right people in place. We brought in we have a great creative team. We brought in a creative leader probably 6 months ago, and he's done a great job. So it is definitely a constantly evolving part of it, is getting the right people in the right place. In a virtual world, we have offices around the world that a lot of them are in person. In Finland, for example. In the U.S., we're very much spread out. We have offices in San Francisco, San Diego, but it's a lot of our team is spread out across the U.S. So it's like the getting everybody together is important. We have to show up and be in front of each other. We do a lot of that. I mean, we do a lot virtually, of course, but we do a lot where we're really trying to engage. And I think, getting the team, what are we doing there? Yeah, it's bonding and it's getting everybody excited about the roadmap and what we're doing. But it's also getting aligned on what success looks like. We're entering in a new fiscal year. What does great look like? What are we trying to drive to? And getting really clear on performance and metrics. We spend a lot of time in the planning phase leading into a fiscal year, both on the understanding what the product roadmap and where are we going, and then how do we have to bring that product roadmap to market, is really important.
What advice would you have to other CMOs or even other marketing roles where they're stepping into a brand that's sort of at this scaling inflection point where you guys are right now?
I've loved to pivot every couple of years. I do enjoy tackling new opportunities and new challenges. I think the first phase is like look, listen, and learn. Like I always spend the first 60, 90 days, like I go through and I interview as many people as I can. What's working, what's not. Like I let them tell me. What you get out of that is you connect dots and you can get a really clear picture of where you need to focus your energy. I think that's one. In 22, we had a cost of acquisition problem. We were way overspending on on acquisition costs. It was we were losing money in that time period. We were not making money, and we were spending too much on marketing. I mean, I cut the budget. I came in and with the CEO and CFO, and we pulled back hard to try to get it reset. It also allowed us to sort of let the dust settle and really figure out our strategies and what we wanted to do. So I mean that was a pretty important step there. But it came about from really listening and learning to what was going on and seeing what was going on in the business. But that's a thing that you know a lot of CFOs and boards are like, I hate to tell you, but I think we got to cut your budget. And it's like I was totally. I mean, we were having these conversations. I was the person saying, I'm totally agree. We gotta get this going in the right direction.
Which is very unusual that you would say.
But I think that's when you, again, back to the, like, if you can get some revenue responsibility, I think for CMOs, whatever level that is, it really helps you have a seat at the table with the CFO and CEO in a different place.
And I think your advice also is like, don't come in and on day 2 start making massive sweeping changes. Right?
No changes. I mean, we didn't make any organizational changes until 6 to 8 months in. Really, we made no changes. We let there was already a lot of change going on in the company. There was a new CEO, Tom Hale, who'd come in, who'd hired me. He was only in 3 or 4 months before, so we were letting the dust settle. I think the third thing of this is just the positioning, which, I mean, better than anybody in the role you're at, is like the positioning and getting that strategy down that both internally you can rally everyone around. That was the next big step, because I was hearing very different things when, who is Oura? What do we stand for? Where are we going? I was getting much different answers across all of those interviews with people, and felt like we had to reset it and then embed it in the company, and then you could start telling the story externally to consumers.
I love that. What is your favorite thing about your job?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I do love, I said 2 pieces. I think I love when we bring new products to market. I mean, I think it's just fun. It's probably one of the most fun parts of the business. Software is great when we launch new software. I love the hardware side. I think is really fun. I say that those are probably the 2. I think there's nothing more exciting when you've got a product you've been. I mean, the cycles on hardware, software can be a year. Hardware can be 2 or 3 years. It could be, or at least a year. 12 months. You're in on packaging and the colorways and the, you're in at every level of the design. I mean, we're in the room, we're working on this, naming what's the experience can be, trying products, testing products. I think that's the most fun. Launch day is a pretty great time in a wearable or any technology company, for sure.
How much of an emphasis do you think about the community or the membership? Obviously, you think about who you're serving and your audience, but do you feel like connecting that community is important?
It's huge. So I'll give you one stat that's kind of, and this has stayed consistent for the 3 years I've been at the company, we ask people, how were you introduced to Oura? 50% say family member, friend, coworker. So the members are selling the product on our behalf.
They're part of your marketing team.
It's above the advertising and the social, and they're seeing it on their hand. They're asking them questions. They may have heard about the product on a streaming show or an outdoor board or wherever online, but they're asking the question, and they're effusive. So that's one. So we've got members. We're constantly looking at the NPS and making sure we're adding value. So the really, like, the member experience and making that as great as it can be, both in-app, digital, blog. I mean, we're doing a lot of education constantly on the evolution of the product. It's a core part of the experience. It's something we have to think about all the time.
Finally, do you have a mantra or a quote that drives you, or that you live by, or that helps you in your day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, one that stuck with me from my Levi's time was on the wall in Portland, which was, we're here to do the best work of our lives.
Mm.
And I thought that was just inspiring, that, and I do believe that at Oura. Like, it's one of the things I want to say to our team when we're working on this incredible product, and it's helping people. It's actually making a positive difference in people's lives. And I think we're all sort of here at this one moment to do that, and to take advantage of it.
The best work of your lives, not necessarily marketing or advertising, but really product wise and what you're bringing to the world.
Exactly. It could be anything in whatever role you're playing. It doesn't just have to be, I mean it in a, outside of a creative campaign. It's more about what we're doing and how we're showing up and how we delivering on the promise and vision of this great company.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. This was awesome.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. Great to see you again.
You too, buddy. Take care.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.